And we welcome you to another edition of This Is Wrestling. It is Versage, alongside the one and only ZFG, Zach friggin' McGibbon. Zach, how are you? As we head into an incredible weather week in the middle of October.
Yeah, it's looking really nice over here as well in the Quinte region, Leeds. Nice and sunny. Nothing too hot, nothing too cold. It's been just right for fall. I've been enjoying it, but things are good over here, Mr. Versage. It's been a busy weekend when it comes to sports topics that I've done, sports stuff that I've done. And, a lot of wrestling stuff has happened over the last week. So I am looking forward to chatting everything that's been going on in the world of professional wrestling.
Well, I never knew before we start, I never knew that an announcer could get this much publicity. Is Samantha Irvin that popular? I didn't realize.
Do you want to talk about that now? You want to talk about the Samantha Irvin stuff now?
We're going to set up the show. We're going to talk some AEW. We're going to talk some WWE, of course. And we're going to talk some C4 wrestling again as they made another appearance. So we got lots to do here. I believe my friend, Tanner Reil is here. Is that true, Tanner?
How's it going, Lee?
My friend, Zach.
Your friend.
My friend, Tanner Reil.
Under the Versage learning tree.
I'm having difficulty right now with going back to some of our Family Feud teams because, Ben and I are on the same team, or not on the same team.
I was going to say.
Tanner and I are.
Yeah.
Ben's taking his son Tanner to the hockey game on the weekend, and I'm just finding that really, really difficult. Tanner, Tanner, before we talk wrestling, did you go to the Ottawa, New Jersey game?
No, I did not.
Okay, well then you haven't seen real hockey yet. So whatever takes you have on your little hockey team that's winning all the time when you're there, when a real team comes in and puts the boots to them, like when I was there on Thursday night, was feeling good about my Devils performance.
I don't know, beating the defending Stanley Cup champions and being the first to hand Tampa Bay a loss. I'm not going to complain about that at all.
No. I mean, getting run out of the rink by Sheldon Keefe must feel good. But
that's all right. I'll take it. I've got Jack Hughes and Jacob Markstrom on fantasy, so
yeah. See,
I'll take one for the team.
There's always a way. And I was just telling Zach earlier, like what a great weekend it was for me because Cowboys didn't lose. Now they didn't play Tanner this weekend, but that's fine. Like they didn't lose, they didn't get embarrassed.
Love a bye week.
Take that as take that as a win. But it's a win with us having you on the program here once again, as I segue back into the world of professional wrestling. And yes, we're going to talk about C4, their latest show. You were there, but have you been watching it all, the Vince McMahon documentary, Tanner?
I binged it all within like the first 3-4 days when it came out. So I've seen it all. It's a little out of mind because it's been a couple of weeks, but
yeah. Well, no, I appreciate that because you are, young, so I shouldn't have said like why would you ever watch a show like once a week or like what us old people do. Of course you binged it right away, but that's what Zach did too. Yeah. And I totally understand. Just as we're going through, I know episode 4 has been recently released, and so we only have 2 episodes to go, but just your overall thoughts on the documentary.
I thought it was pretty good. I watched it with my girlfriend, and obviously her having far less wrestling knowledge than me kind of brought like a different perspective into it.
Kind of pumping himself up, basically.
Putting himself over. Jeez.
Yeah.
She's also a pretty big like true crime fan. Like that's what she really enjoys. So it was kind of cool to merge our worlds a little bit. But overall, there were a lot of things I learned that I didn't know about Vince, especially in like the first 2 episodes, a lot of the territory stuff. And stuff from the 80s, some of the referee drama and the ring boy allegations I had no idea about. I'm not quite the wrestling historian that Zach McGibbon is.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that was very interesting. But I think as it went on, it felt at like a little bit too surface level. Maybe for someone who has more of a wrestling knowledge, but I get it. They're on Netflix. They're trying to appeal to that wider audience that's going to be on there and maybe gives it a watch. But overall, it was good, but I wouldn't say great is kind of where I'm lying. I think it was just too surface level. They could have used maybe some more runtime, some more episodes, and just kind of getting into what's going on now a little bit more. Although I know that story is sort of still untold. So I'd be interested to see if they're going to do a follow-up to this, but that's kind of where I'm lying with it right now.
Was this something where it kind of launched you off into other things? Like you learned about it, it's like, oh, I got to learn more about this and start doing your own thing? Or was it just kind of like, oh, that's interesting, then you kind of moved on with your day?
Yeah, I'd lean towards the latter there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think we've talked about it on our reviews, how it's hard because for me, I'm picking out these little tiny things I didn't know out of a 54-minute show. There's 30 seconds of it that I didn't know. Now I realize that we're in the wrestling realm, but I agree with you. I think it was too surface level even for that. And I do think that it could have gone way deeper on a lot more subjects that really do matter. Do want to get your quick takes on a couple of things here before we get to C4 and Zach as well. I'm actually going to throw both of you guys a curveball. And Zach, we can start with you and then move on to Tanner,
sure,
whether it matters at all. How about the Motor City Machine Guns?
Yeah,
Popping up on SmackDown. Are we excited about this? Is this something that you think is a good thing? Are they past their prime? Like they certainly for, I would call, I don't say a real wrestling fan, but a non-WWE wrestling fan, they can kind of pop you a little bit. The fact that the Motor City Machine Guns are in the WWE, it's not something I thought I would ever see.
No, for sure, especially watching TNA during that time. So I will say this. I was never the biggest Motor City Machine Guns guy, not because I thought they were bad or anything like that. They just never really resonated with me like it did for other fans of that tag team. I do like Alex Shelley and Saban's solid. I just never saw them at this higher level that others saw. So having said that, though, it was quite surreal, especially seeing Saban in WWE was quite a surreal sight for me. I've seen the Motor City Machine Guns over the last couple of years on and off, whether it be on the independents or, wrestling in TNA. And they've always been solid. They haven't reached that eclipse over the last couple of years that I think some people might think that they still have. I don't see that with them at this stage of their career. I see them as guys that, especially in the case of Shelley, are guys that just really know this wrestling business well and know how to work. And we've talked for so long about the WWE's tag team division and how just lackluster it is. This certainly gives an infusion and some depth into that tag team division as well. So from that standpoint, I think it's interesting. It was definitely a surreal sight to see. The team themselves were not the team that really resonated with me when I was watching TNA. Like for me, my peak TNA years were 2011 to 2013. So that was around the Bobby Roode and Austin Aries sort of guys that were up on top. Eric Young was starting to make his rise during that time as well. And so that era of TNA was the one I watched more in depth than others. So that might be this where, the Motor City Machine Guns kind of falls flat for me. But certainly a sight. I didn't think I would ever see those guys in a WWE ring. What
about you, Tanner? Does it matter to you?
I think Zach pretty well hit it on the head there. It doesn't matter too much, I'd say, to me. I haven't seen a ton of their matches from TNA, maybe only 2 or 3. And then Alex, I've seen a couple times. I know he did a C4 booking about a year ago, and I quite liked him, but it's not going to make me tune into the WWE programming, which I haven't been for quite some time. But yeah, I would hope that it gives that tag team division a little bit of depth, because it seems like their championships can't even crack a pay-per-view card. But when you've only got 5 matches, I guess that's kind of what happens.
Yes. Well, five matches and 84 titles, and that's look, right. AEW is no different.
Yeah.
So
at least they book several more matches and utilize a lot of their titles. Instead, I got to watch a shark cage match on the PLE. That's the one that takes priority, Lee. So,
Okay, with Tanner, let's get to AEW then. Just your thoughts on, Bryan Danielson leaving full-time wrestling for now, even though he says that he's, retired from full-time wrestling. The angle with Jon Moxley and his group, and how much you like that, because that is the main storyline going on right now in AEW.
I like it so far. I wouldn't say I'm loving it. I think in the lead up to the pay-per-view, sort of as Mox cemented the heel turn, even at the pay-per-view before there, when he did the initial attack, I figured they were probably going to go the way of having him take the title. I don't think it would have done him or the group any favors to be built up only to lose the match to Danielson. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure where it's going right now. It seems like it's kind of a Mox versus everybody in AEW sort of thing. It looks like they're going to try and build up a new crop of baby faces, which I think they sort of need there. I think long term, maybe we're looking at like a Darby Allin or someone like that to take him down. But I imagine Mox is going to have quite a long run with the title and have some big defenses there. But I've been enjoying it so far, but I think it's too early to say if I really love it.
Zach, I have to ask you about, the group coming out and basically running roughshod over the entire roster, but the Elite backing off and kind of going, it's okay. And everyone getting mad at the Elite for not involving themselves. I guess number one, do you think the Elite and this group are going to coincide? And number two, and Tanner, you can answer this after as well. Are they still going to be able to be the group that they want to be with Moxley's group on top right now?
Oh, definitely not. For that second question, it's funny because they're kind of doing a lot of similar storylines right now when it comes to AEW programming. When you mention it with the takeover angle, I was going to joke that are you talking about the Elite's takeover of AEW, or are you talking about this new Moxley group that's taking over AEW? It seems to be like, in terms of storylines that they're going with, they're going with their tried and trues right now when it comes to their stories. I don't see the Elite working with Moxley's group. I definitely see them, like, to me, the whole deal with the Elite and why it's kind of faltered is the fact that the Elite that helped build this company is now going to be against this company, and they haven't established why they would be against this company. So it makes a lot more sense for the Elite to be the babyfaces defending AEW, because they're the ones that built that company. And they, for a lot of people that watch that promotion, are the ones that are really the hearts and souls of that company. So I could see them eventually turning back into a babyface role and being a team that goes against this Moxley group if you wanted to build it out over a while, because this storyline, and Tanner kind of touched on it as well, this is a chance for them to build up a crop of baby faces. You got the new TV deal signed, and so you have the time to try and put some new stars over and try and get them over on TV, because you've got that guaranteed money coming in, so you could take some chances on some guys on TV to be stars. I think it just makes sense for the Elite to eventually go against Moxley's group with some tweaks to their character, because I think as it stands right now, every time I see the Bucks and I see Okada and I see Jack Perry, I just see a group that's not hot right now. In fact, very cold, and they need something to kind of change things up.
Do you feel any differently, Tanner?
Yeah, I think he pretty well hit it there. It's kind of the same angle happening twice, and obviously one of them is going to be stronger than the other. To me, it feels like the Elite's kind of in a holding pattern until Kenny Omega comes back. I wonder if maybe they were expecting that to happen a little bit sooner. And I know they did the little tease this week with the cake thing. It's kind of weird, but that's also about where I say, yeah, I think Zach pretty well hit it there. It's pretty clear that one is stronger than the other, but it's pretty insane how similar they are. I think at this point, I'm almost surprised Mox hasn't come out and dropped Tony Khan in the middle of the ring.
I just think it makes the Elite look very weak, and I don't know what the big plan is. Are they going to go up against them? Are they going to join forces for a while? but it makes the elite look like a secondary group. The people who are killing everybody in the ring and the people that have the world title are not the elite. So what are they doing? And quite frankly, I don't understand it. And I especially don't understand, and not to get too far into the weeds on this, the kind of rebuilding of this Don Callis family at a time in which you have 1,800 factions that are all heels. Like, don't forget the learning tree, right? We make fun of them, but they're still a faction. And they're heels. And apparently Brian Cage, because he can win, the secondary title now in the secondary company. Does it make that the what? The fourth title? No. The Ring of Honor television title? Well, Ring of Honor is only ever on AEW. It makes no sense to me. And then we got a talent acquisition, and they're rebuilding, and they're doing, like, Kyle Fletcher comes out. You want to know why? Too bad. What? Like, you're the third group. I'll put that group, the Don Callis family, just because of the fact they're going up against Will Ospreay, not because of who's in the group, but because they're going up against the most popular and best wrestler in the company. I'll put that group third.
Don't forget, we might have a fourth here real soon with the Hurt Syndicate as well.
Well, yes, it's a good point, because now you got the learning tree is the fourth group, and then MVP is going to come along, and every athlete that he ever sees, he hands a card to. He's obviously forming a group. I don't understand. And I don't get it, Zach, from a point of view of, like, I think the Don Callis family is a good angle as a first or second group in the company. But right now they're third, maybe fourth. You could have an argument when Chris Jericho wins the Ring of Honor World title coming up for the second time, by the way, that they'll be the fifth group behind the Hurt Syndicate and the Learning Tree. And their top athlete, like, Takeshita is a great wrestler, but when you can't speak English, it's going to be really hard. And then you have Kyle Fletcher, who's going to go up against Will Ospreay, and he attacks him in a hoodie and leaves him there. And do you want to know why? Too bad. Oh, you got me hooked, guys.
The fans aren't owed an explanation, Lee. That's some heel work. That's called being a heel.
No,
the thing running through my head right now is, has this company ever had a heel world champion on top that isn't surrounded by a bunch of cronies?
Trying to think back to it now.
Jericho had the Inner Circle.
Yeah. Omega
Swerve
had
his faction even for a time when he was sort of a top heel.
Omega had Callis. And parts of the elite.
I think I'm right.
I think you're right. Yeah, I'm thinking back to the world champions that we've had here.
Hangman,
yeah,
he was a face though.
He was a face,
and even then, he had sort of had the Dark Order there in his pocket.
I was gonna joke CM Punk, but for different reasons.
Oh,
but is it too soon or?
No, it's just irrelevant.
I think you make a great point there, Tanner, in terms of that. I can throw this in there then as well, because the news broke last week that Jimmy Jacobs has gone from creative, and we knew that he was a right-hand guy with Tony Khan when it comes to helping format the shows and whatnot. And I thought it was an interesting note where they said that they'll take this time to kind of freshen up creative. Do you take any solace in that, Lee, in terms of Jacobs being gone? Because I know he was sort of the boogeyman, the face of the AEW creative for a lot of people, including myself, when it comes to some of the decisions that were being made on the screen.
I think when you make a big change like that, it always has ripple effects and can make a difference. Now, what type of difference it's going to make? Is it going to make an amazing difference? Because who is he going to surround himself with? Who's the next people? Who's the next person to do this? I don't know that we know the answer, but yeah, I mean, it's AEW's in its worst period. I feel like this is what a lot of teams go through in their worst periods. Well, you do something to change things up. It's like the Toronto Blue Jays. Terrible, terrible, terrible. You know what we do? We fire the hitting coach. We don't fire the GM. No, I'm just kidding. Off on a tangent. But you fire the coach, you fire the GM, and you fire one of the head people. And yeah, I think it will freshen it up, but that doesn't mean it'll freshen it up in a great way.
Yeah.
It just means things are going to change a little bit, but they need to change.
Yeah.
It's just I think we're all pulling here for, and I would include Tanner probably as the biggest person on this panel, but I think all three of us understand that AEW is not in the best place they've ever been before. And we'd like it, Tanner, to change a little bit and change for the better. It's about how they get there, but we do need things to change, don't we?
Yeah, 100%. This is easily the lowest the company's been in a while creatively. I think you guys kind of hit on it in the last couple of weeks and saying that like the pay-per-views are sort of the only thing that's really delivering. And it's feeling a little bit less like the alternative that it used to.
Mm.
And I don't know if changing one person in the creative team is enough to really change that, or if it goes deeper than that. But I think we're just gonna have to let things play out and see if that does make somewhat of a difference.
Yeah, just to jump on that as well. You kind of, with the pay-per-views, I think one of the things as well, if you notice with a lot of those pay-per-views that AEW puts on, it's very little angles, a lot of wrestling. And that was kind of the things that helped establish AEW at the front. Was, you know, they would tell, you know, their quote unquote stories, but they focused on in-ring action. They focused on having a good talent roster, and they told, you know, coherent, competent stories. Some, I would say, high level stories as well, especially in the early parts when they were talking about the Elite and the rise of Hangman Page and, you know, all those guys. So, and now over the last couple of weeks, we've been seeing more and more people have some sort of influence on creative, whether their official title is a writer or a producer, whatever. But a lot of those guys that are in there, you notice, are former WWE folks, and they're former WWE folks that were writing for WWE during their worst creative periods as well. And I know Vince was in charge there, but when they've been in an environment for so long, and especially when there's one wrestling company, and they've been in that environment for so long, it's not like all of a sudden, you know, now that they're out there, that they're going to suddenly put together the greatest, you know, bits of wrestling TV you're ever going to see. And I think it just kind of goes back to, you know, Tony Khan establishing guys in the room that are willing to, you know, that will tell good stories, and picking who are the guys that he should listen to. And I think it kind of goes back to why Jimmy Jacobs was the guy that was the central figure for some, because he was the guy that was closely associated with Jericho as well when it came to putting together his stories. Mm-hmm. And his ideas were more considered on that sports entertainment aspect of storytelling. So all that to say, I when Scott D'Amore was out there, and people were saying Scott D'Amore should join the creative team in AEW, I was one of those people that was waving and saying, no. The last thing this company needs right now is another voice in the room that's just going to muddy up what this TV is looking like. So, I think it really is fascinating seeing where the creative is in AEW right now and where it could go, because I think there are building blocks there that are working. It's just, how do we get there? And like what Tanner said, I don't usually like to say this, let it play out, but I think in this case, there has to be some things we got to see be put in place, especially with some new people in the room.
I'm going to throw out a couple of things that I think will surprise you guys. I think we all have watched this group, this Jon Moxley group, and Moxley takes the title and he's going to hang on to it. We all agree, right? He's going to hang on to it for a long time, until you can build up the guys like the Darby Allins and the Orange Cassidys, that one of them will take it off of him and you'll have your new star. And in the meantime, we'll just let it play out. I'll throw a bit of a wrench into that. at least ask you guys. Would you guys buy them running roughshod over the company and the elite coming back as faces to try and save the company if the world title was not involved? If Moxley quickly lost the title, but they still run roughshod over everybody, and the elite are like, no, this is our company. You're not going to do this anymore. And they kind of make it like I don't want to say copying. They kind of make it like a bloodline storyline where it's as or more important than the world title, but you got the world title somewhere else. And the reason I say that is because I didn't think Dynamite was very good this week. I thought it was really bland. I didn't love it. You can tell me that Leo Rush, who's recently re-signed and he's in there and he's having a good match. Great. I don't really care. But Christian beat Jay White in the main event. Christian's got the world title shot at any time. And it's at least my feeling that I'm looking at all of these people and I'm going, okay, Christian's got this world title shot. He's obviously in the world title picture. You can still use Jay White in there and get him away from the Bang Bang Gang and all that stuff and just put him on his own as a separate guy. You're going to have MJF hanging around the world title. Adam Cole, who I didn't think Adam Cole and MJF's promo was very good. And
Me neither.
I'm still waiting for that to click and for me to feel something different about Adam Cole that I used to love and I want to love. I just want something to dig into. But you have Swerve that's going to be either part of this group or going against the group, but he's always in now as a main eventer. Darby Allin, these guys, like you can put them in, but you have the storyline of Moxley's group against the elite for the company without the world title and put the title on Christian soon. Tanner, thoughts?
Oh man, you're throwing a lot at me here.
Yeah, I know, but that's the job as a host
Yeah.
is to put these special guests who
I
know
know-
a lot on the spot. Let's go.
I know you started with the whole BCC elite thing there at the beginning on your tangent. It's not something I want to see again, particularly because I think we've seen it so many times now. They've done the blood and guts. They've done all that. Just flipping the roles and having the elites as the faces and this new BCC as the heels doesn't make it interesting enough for me.
Okay.
Even with perhaps
Here-
the addition of Kenny Omega.
Here comes Cody as a heel, Roman as a face for the same main event for 3 WrestleManias.
Don't
in a
even
row.
get me started, man.
But I'm
Oh
just
my
saying,
God.
let's just flip the script here. And
They would have to do something drastically different to get me even somewhat interested in seeing that program again.
yeah. Okay. Zach,
Yeah.
I'm wondering why Christian Cage is beating Jay White in the main event of Dynamite with his world title shot at any time if he's never going to get this world title shot over John Moxley.
Yeah, I am too. And the way that main event went with the botched Kip Sabian running as well was not great. I look at this story and I'm thinking to myself, man, like, is it crazy for me to just say, you know what? You just promote Christian Cage versus John Moxley on a Dynamite and you have that match, that title match on a Dynamite, and you just kind of put the intrigue out there early on, and then you just have John Moxley just beat the tar out of Christian Cage. I know you run the risk of a babyface reaction with Moxley just putting the boots to Christian Cage because, you know, Cage is a heel. But to me, like, I don't see where the path is now with Cage as the title holder, or rather the holder of a future title shot. And I've said on this program too, the fact that they're emulating a lot of stuff with the Money in the Bank when it comes to this title shot thing is like, you know what, you want me to get invested in the program? Just say, hey, Christian Cage is putting his title shot on the line in a few weeks. You promote it on Dynamite. In a few weeks down the line, you promote it. You do the match. You have Moxley win, and you can add a trinket to his belt when it comes to another title defense, because that's where I'm sort of at, because I don't really see the path forward when it comes to Christian unless he turns babyface, and unless they wait for Adam Copeland to come back in terms of his recovery and eventually have Christian turn babyface. But even then, I think that's still a little too far out. So
I don't know how you would have Christian announce it ahead of time, though. That's the thing.
I know.
Yeah.
It was just so out of character for him to do
I know.
that.
I agree.
I think they got to wait for the babyface thing. I don't know if that title shot has an expiry date, but again, that feels like another thing where they're in a holding pattern waiting on Copeland.
Yeah.
Just like I mentioned earlier, the Elite being in a holding pattern waiting on Kenny Omega. And a couple months ago, MJF being in a holding pattern waiting on Adam Cole.
Yeah.
It seems to be a bit of a problem in this company.
Yeah. Well, that's the tough thing too, because they can't control injuries. No. And I get that. I can forgive them for that, but sometimes you just got to get off the beaten path and try something else.
Right. And I feel like they're gonna wait for Copeland, whether that's Cage trying to cash it in on a new babyface champion, or maybe like a mid-match is a way they could get around it, like him wanting to make it a triple threat or whatever, like we've seen with Money in the Bank, and then Copeland costing him or whatever. But yeah, I don't know where they go from here with Cage.
So basically, I presented the idea, and you guys threw it to the wayside. And I'll tell you that I think it's the best idea they could go with. Put a guy like that on top, weasel his way into somehow just getting the title off of Moxley. He can chicken crap defend it against all these guys while you have two groups that are fighting for the company. I just don't know that having Christian have that and then having Moxley go on a long run, I just don't know where that leads.
Yeah.
I'm open to it for sure. I feel like it'd be a nice notch on Christian's belt too, because, you know, being in the WWE, he was never really given that long world title run. Mm-hmm. I know he had the very, very brief ones in like the late 2010s, but I could see that being a nice way to sort of give him one last big run on top. And he's been a great guy for the company, so I'm open to it. But storyline wise, I don't know how you really connect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to try and make it a really, really cheap victory to keep the heat on Jon Moxley and that group running over and taking over the company regardless. And I'm not sure exactly how you do that, but I'm not sure how you keep Christian hot for 6 months or a year with that thing. He's beating Jay White in the main event of this Dynamite to lead to where?
Yeah.
Like,
what if I throw this idea out there? We know that that the Bucks have on screen have worked with Christian Cage before. What if they kind of do some sort of tactic where they force Christian Cage, they find a loophole in the contract or something, and they find a loophole in the contract and they force Christian Cage to use his title shot as is like, you scratch our back, we're scratching yours because we're giving you a title shot. But Christian could do I'm not ready, this is not of my choosing, this is from the EVPs, and they still be heels in terms of that case, because I'm looking at it from the perspective of abort mission when it comes to getting rid of this title shot, and yes, keeping it within the characters.
I know you're looking at it as abort mission, and I don't disagree with that philosophy, but the last show that we saw, Christian was beating a main event performer in the main event. He beat Jay White at the end of Dynamite, right? They are not aborting any mission right now, whether we think it's the right idea or not. They're not doing that, are they?
Yeah, they are. And also too, when it comes to that story, it's pretty clear that they're going to try and continue this Jay White and Adam Page stuff moving forward too. So, so that's how I'm looking at it. Like, you could tie it into the previous interaction with the Bucks, and you could start that as we got to get this title back from them. Christian, we're going to send you out there because you have the title shot and we have the power as EVPs to, get this title shot in. that's the way that they could potentially look at this. I don't love it, just for the record, because they booked themselves into a corner.
I don't love it either. Zach.
Yeah, they booked themselves into a corner here when it comes to this stuff. All so, right. but that's just an idea I want to throw out there.
It's like a creep show. C4 creep show. Tanner, you were there, Preston Event Center.
I was.
Last Friday, October 18th, with the main event of Evil Uno and Bung Jae Lee. So let's get to some of this show. Do you want to start with? You tell us. What do you want to start with?
I guess we could just go chronologically. I think that probably makes the most sense. So I ended up getting there a little bit late this time. Long story short, my neighbor below me had a kitchen fire.
Oh, wow.
And had to deal with getting some smoke out of a couple of apartments. So
that's heat, brother.
Sorry?
That's heat, brother.
Well, I know it is.
It sounds like a good reason to be late.
Yeah. So I missed about the first 15 minutes of the match, and I did not catch the kickoff. But the opener was London Lightning, Gabriel Fuerza, Stu Grayson taking on Von Vertigo, Sheldon Jean, and Jesse V. 6-man match, kind of putting these three feuds that have been going on for the last couple of months together. So I only ended up catching the end of this. I saw Von Vertigo go through the door at the hands of Gabriel Fuerza. I think they're still building up to a big one-on-one with them. And the Babyfaces ended up getting the win there. And Sheldon Jean attacked Stu Grayson after the match, probably setting up a third encounter between those two because they've both traded wins here in Ottawa. And a couple of pretty good matches that I've enjoyed. I know Zach liked those ones as well.
Yeah.
So I think we're heading towards a trilogy with those two.
I like that match layout too. I'm fairly confident, and Mark might be able to confirm this, that the inspiration for this would be the old WCW Saturday night main events where they would do a 6-man tag, and it would be all the guys that are currently in storylines. We're going to put them together in sort of this all-star 6-man tag, and they're all facing off against each other. And each guy that comes in has some sort of beef with the other guy on the other side, and put them all together into this tag match. So I have a feeling that's kind of where the idea comes from when it comes to those old WCW 6-man tags. And AEW kind of implemented it a little bit in their programming, but then of course with the way creative is, they have totally washed away from a good idea. But in this case, I like the way that's kind of been booked together, because it's all these guys that have previous history going in one ring.
Yeah, it's definitely something we've seen from them before, but I thought it played out really well here.
I don't know why you hate on the conglomeration like that.
The conglomeration, yeah. I you know what I will say.
No, stop.
One positive thing.
Don't do it.
No, I will. One positive thing, I actually like the element that they don't have their own t-shirts and gimmicks, and they're all just kind of their own guys that decide, wait, we're going to just partner up with each other. I like that idea. It's different. I know what you're gonna say, Lee, but the storylines. I get it. I understand. I know.
Well,
I know. I know.
I just complained about all the factions.
Yes.
So you're basically telling me that this is the anti-faction.
Yes.
They're a team that's not a faction.
That's right.
Right.
They're all their own guys, but they just happen to be working with each other.
Right.
The anti-faction, the conglomeration, if you will.
Well, let me know when Kyle O'Reilly can win a match.
I try to bring some positives. I'm not saying I like it. I just say I like that element.
All right. Back to C4.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Next matchup, you had Christera taking on Casey Diamond. I believe she was making her debut, not a wrestler that I was particularly familiar with. I thought it was a pretty good standard one-on-one match. Christera picked up the win. Definitely looks like the star out of these two. And yeah, she looks pretty good going forward. Big hit over in C4. And then on to the next one. One thing I really liked on this show were the tag team matches. I thought there were quite a few good ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good thing, because we're going to get a lot of tag team matches at their next show in the form of a tournament that we'll get into a little bit towards the end there. But this one I really enjoyed. It was Brent Banks and James Stone, kind of the oddball faction put together there. Almost like Sheamus and Cesaro in the WWE, taking on Project 8100, who I know we're all big fans of.
Mm-hmm.
This one, yeah, it was a great match. Brent Banks was doing a lot of the stuff early on. James Stone actually went and sat in the front row and was drinking beer with the fans.
I was just going to ask you about that. I saw a picture of Mr. Stone doing that. Fantastic.
It was awesome. I wish I was on that side of the ring, but some sort of alteration happened between the teams there. I couldn't quite catch it from my angle on the side of the ring there, but I think he was either slapped or got splashed with some beer and got angry and got into the ring. They actually started trying a little bit, but Stone and Banks still kind of aren't completely on the same page. This isn't their first match together. I believe last month they were in a three-way with Project 8100 also in there. But they started clicking towards the end. They hit a really nice Tower of Doom spot and looked like they were going to get the win there. James Stone was up on the top rope, and then a hooded individual came and pushed him off and cost him, and 8100 were able to hit their finisher to get the win there. And the hooded individual revealed themselves to be MVP Michael Von Payton.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I did see afterwards, I guess he's sort of joined up with 8100. I think I saw a picture of them from Acclaim Pro Wrestling. So I think C4 kind of joining in here as well with 8100 expanding a bit. I'm not sure if he's going to serve as more of a manager or just like a third part of that group, but I really liked it.
Sounds like something similar that what they're doing in Remix Wrestling, which I am a commentator for, so I should just put that out there. But they did something similar with that at Remix, where Michael Von Payton, the original MVP, I might add, is a tag team with Raja Ali, and Raja Ali no longer wrestles. He's now just a manager, but I imagine there will be some sort of connection there, because Raja Ali can cut a promo. I've seen some Raja Ali promos. I expect to see him help out with this Project 8100 group in the future for C4. So interesting that they got Michael Von Payton out there.
Yeah, and then after the matchup, there's a bit of a shoving match between Banks and Stone. They both pushed each other down and kind of walked out on each other. So I'm interested to see where that goes next. I did mention the tag team thing earlier on. So next month's show is the Terry Ann Gibson Memorial Tournament. 5 teams have been announced, and both teams in that match are going to be a part of it. So they'll be participating in that in some fashion next month.
Okay.
Next up, we had Mike Marston taking on Marcus Mathers. Very good one-on-one matchup. Marston had a really big leg drop that I liked. Mathers had an awesome cutter and pile driver. Just 2 really good in-ring workers here going at it. Your bigger heel taking on your faster baby face. Marston had a wicked power bomb on Mathers that he turned into like a pinfall, and then Mathers kind of hooked his arms and rolled him up for the win. Kind of a out of nowhere sort of thing. Marston jumped him afterwards with a chair and kind of hit his head with the rope a little bit there and the chair. So building up probably towards a rematch between those two, but I really enjoyed it. Marston's someone that's kind of elevated up the card a little bit in his faction there. That was being led by Twiggy last season, but we haven't seen Twiggy at all. So
you can see why he has vaulted up the card, though, with that kind of tutelage.
Exactly. When you have a guy like Twiggy in your ear for so long, but he had the match with Butcher last month, and then with Marcus Mathers here. So it's nice to see Marston moving up the card a little bit. Someone I'm starting to enjoy quite a bit.
Very nice.
There you go. Yeah, Marcus Mathers as well. Keep an eye on him to watch him grow. He's going to be really good. He's going to be really, really good.
What was Cecil Nix's Halloween treat? Like, come on.
I'm getting there.
That's what the people need to know.
Oh, man. I got a lot to say about that one.
Okay.
We're getting there. We got 2 tag matches real quick that I definitely want to talk about because these were 2 of my favorites on the night. Junior Benito and McCrae Martin taking on Violence is Forever.
Yep. Can see this one being a beauty.
Yeah. It was a banger. A very, very good matchup. Some teases that I picked up on as well. Some subtle ones. At one point, Junior Benito tagged himself in, and McCrae Martin didn't look too happy with him. And,
Tell you, hey, McCrae, Junior's using you. I'm telling you, he's using you. Go ahead.
And then later on in their match, they were kind of looking for their finish, but VIF kind of sidestepped them, and Junior ended up super kicking McCrae Martin.
McCrae, Junior is using you. As your friend, McCrae, Junior is using you.
And then Junior missed his 450, I should say, and Violence is Forever hit their finish for a very near fall. But Martin ended up getting the small package roll up there for a very, very tight victory to retain the IWTV Tag Team Championships.
So let me get this straight. McCray Martin gets hit, tagged in when he didn't want to, hit by his own partner, still is able to get up and get the victory himself. McCray Jr. is using you.
We're definitely planting some seeds that I picked up on, and there's an even bigger thing towards the end of the night that I know we're going to talk about. A promo that I sent over to Zach this afternoon.
Yes,
that was that closed out the show. But I could see something coming out of this, and I think they're starting to plant some seeds. And I hope it's going where I think it's going. Okay. Anyways, up next, another tag team match. This time with a bit of a twist. I believe a first time ever for C4, a dog collar match.
Double
TDT
dog
and
collar.
Triple Dragon.
TDT and Triple Dragon for the tag team titles. Ben Tull did fill in for Thomas Dubois here. So the underground title match was changed later on in the card, but it worked pretty well. I mean, it's still the same faction. But this match was pretty insane from the get-go. They were fighting well before even the bell rang. Pretty Ricky got busted open pretty good. Pretty good Crimson Mask. Not quite on the level of Junior last month with the visual there with Uno, but it was still pretty impressive. Got to give some props as well to referee Kyle Joseph, because TDT weren't really taking him easy there. He ended up getting knocked down a couple of times. But TDT was really targeting Puff's knee. They ended up taking like his boot off at one point, and they were really going after it. But yeah, Kyle got attacked twice. Again, dropped as soon as he got back into it. Ricky ended up making a big comeback after being out of it for a while. And Puff saved him from going through the door and speared Matthew St. Jacques through it. And then Surge made the run down to the ring like Charles Robinson at WrestleMania to make the 3 count. And we have new tag team champions. Triple Dragon have reclaimed the titles they lost a few months ago.
Wow. And a double dog collar match.
A double dog collar match. And it was brutal. They were using those chains a lot. They were wrapping their fists in them and hitting each other. Pretty Ricky got pulled down by the neck from the rope at one point. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Not something that we've seen from C4 before. So yeah, it was nice to kind of get a different match stipulation that you don't really see every day here. And I think it was a feud that called for it. It's one that's been going on for a while. And I wonder if we're starting to sort of see the implosion here of the Twiggy group.
Yeah. Well, serves them right, I say.
So
You talk about listening to advice. Well, I mean, if they were listening to this advice, they wouldn't be imploding right now, I wouldn't think, Lee.
I actually think they would have a long time ago. The Underground Championship was then what?
The Underground Championship, well, it wasn't for the title anymore since Ben Tull couldn't go. It turned into Jody Threat taking on Kevin Blackwood. Just a one-on-one matchup. It was a pretty good one, kind of what you'd expect from these two of the higher end experienced vets on this card. Blackwood ended up getting the win fairly easily, but yeah, it was good. But as you teed up earlier, next up was the Gauntlet match, or sorry, Twiggy or Cecil Nix's special Halloween treat, which yes turned out to be a Gauntlet match, essentially a Royal Rumble. This was something. I'm not sure if either of you have heard anything about it, but
I've not heard anything.
It was very mystery wrestling-esque.
Okay.
A very, very comedy-heavy matchup. And
so what you're saying is we probably wouldn't like it.
Probably not.
I see.
It definitely wasn't my cup of tea. I think it went on a little bit longer than I would have liked. But I could honestly just go through some of these participants, and I think you guys will get where it kind of was. So Cecil Nix started, and then the dad bod, Tommy the Duke, came out second.
Yeah.
Nearly eliminated himself on the way in, but the refs let him back in. Fancy Ryan Clancy was next. And then the next one was not Cecil Nix, but Cecilia Nix.
Oh, okay.
A female wrestler that was dressed as him. I'm not sure who it was, but interesting. Crystal Moon. And then the next entrant was The Voice.
As in the ring announcer?
Of C4.
Oh my God.
But he ended up coming into the match and getting scared by Cecil and then eliminating himself.
Oh.
And then Cecil turned on Cecilia and threw her out.
Oh,
Katrina Creed was the next entrant, and then out comes Serge Saint Denis, the referee.
okay. So who won?
As your
Yeah,
next
they get,
entrant.
who won? Let's get to the end. There
Yeah.
are more
He came
important
out.
things
He came out
talk
to
about.
KSI's terrible new song. I've got to mention that as well.
Oh God, really? Oh
Yep.
no.
We had the Wolfman, Cheech Hernandez.
Oh, the Wolfman of Wall Street showed up.
Yep. He was back after I think he was in the last one as well.
Yeah.
Eli Knight, not LA Knight, Eli Knight.
Yeah.
Members only, the tag team. And then probably the most egregious of them all, Preston Hardware.
Oh,
It was a door with a man painted on it with the word Preston put across.
Oh boy.
And the wrestlers proceeded to chop him in the corner and go to work on him.
oh
and
boy. Okay, so
Were they
who's
working
on?
someone ended up
holds,
going
you
through
know?
and the crowd got pretty upset.
Please tell us who won so we
Yeah.
can spare.
I got it. There's more. We had small James Stone.
Oh,
It was
I
a
see.
mini version of Scrapper James Stone.
Is it kind
That
of
was
like the minis back in the day of the WWF, or?
And it wasn't even like a small person. It was just a smaller guy with a beard
I
that
see.
came out and was doing the me thing. And then our last entrant was Dick Justice.
Okay, that's somebody messaged me about him. I was like, why did Dick Justice show up at C4?
It was
But now
it
makes
was
more
interesting.
sense.
But Cecil ended up getting the win by eliminating Creed. But then it turned out Surge hadn't been eliminated, so he came back in and helped do like a triple power bomb with members only. And then Big James came out and got Small James. And then your final three were Cecil, Cheech, and Knight. But Cecil ended up winning and then also proceeded to throw out Brian Renda, who was just the actual referee. So yeah, it was
Wow.
I'm glad
It
we
was a
got through
match.
that. Yeah. As Zach says, there were holds.
Yeah, there were holds. Holds were exchanged, and was there a nerve hold in the
exactly
match?
my cup of tea. Sorry,
Was there a nerve hold in the match?
I don't believe so.
Ah, darn.
It was
Love me a good
something.
nerve.
It definitely wasn't my cup of tea, and I felt like it went on a little bit longer than maybe it needed to.
The joke had played itself out.
Yeah,
I understand.
and I guess we also just had a Rumble 2 months ago that felt a lot more important than this one.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not sure what I was expecting exactly from a Cecil Nick's Halloween treat, but I wouldn't say it was that.
Right.
Main event. Let's talk about the main event.
Minute time.
Yeah.
Complete opposite end of the spectrum here. Another great match. I mean, I know I hyped up that Junior Benito Evil Uno one, made you guys go and watch that last month. Very similar match with Uno kind of being all serious and tanking a lot of shots. Like Myung Jae Lee had to hit him 5 or 6 times for every one time that Uno got a lick in on him. Totally just this different side of Uno. Absolutely brutal. Really reminds me of Mick Foley in a way. I guess not in the dominance, more of the visual, but yeah, it was pretty insane. They had like a pile of chairs set up at one point, and Uno powerbombed him through that. Myung Jae Lee got put through a door, which happened to be the Preston Hardware door from the last match. And then there's a chair wedged in the corner as well that Uno put him through. Uno hit him with a pile driver that he managed to kick out of. Myung Jae Lee did start kind of coming back. He hit a couple of the Bryan Danielson running knees, hit 2 of them, but Uno still managed to kick out of that with a near fall. And then what it really came down to was Uno going under the ring and getting a pack of zip ties. And he zip tied Myung Jae Lee's arm to the ropes and started brutalizing him with chair shots. I thought he was just going to hit him until the ref called it, but eventually he stopped and put a sleeper in and made Myung Jae Lee pass out. But yeah, very one-sided match once again with this different sort of side of Evil Uno. And he picks up the win and retains the title there.
Well, they're certainly continuing on here with something that they were going with Uno, which I think is a good thing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's insane because I mean these two were teaming up like 6 months ago, and it was very friendly, but it was anything but that on Friday night.
So what was this promo?
Yes, afterwards, all the baby faces kind of came down and were, tending to Myung Jae Lee and whatnot. And McCray Martin got on the microphone and essentially was like, the only reason I'm not dropping you right now is because of the small amount of respect that I have left for you as my teacher. But, this has kind of gone too far. and dropped a couple of good lines in there, saying that Uno can't handle that his students are starting to take his spot at the top of the card, and saying that it may have taken him 17 years to win the title, but it's not going to take McRae Martin that long, and pretty well set up the match for next month's show.
This was a good promo.
It was very good.
Tanner showed me the promo. It's a very good promo.
The Edge of 17 is the next show. Is that right?
Correct. So main event we've already got set there. Evil Uno defending against McRae Martin, as well as the tag memorial tournament.
Why do I think that Junior is going to cost McRae again?
I think that's where they're going.
Ooh,
Okay.
I like it.
I was going to say, why do I think that it's going to be like an accident or something, but it's going to be Junior's fault?
And then maybe down the line they lose the tag belts there and it's Junior's fault. And maybe Junior gets the title back and McRae doesn't like that too much. I see where you're going.
A lot of possibilities, but I feel like it's heading towards this, and I'm here for that.
Love it.
Because I need to watch Junior get his ass kicked by McRae.
Wow. There you go. Former guest on this show, Junior Benito.
Yeah, no. Good guy needs his ass kicked. Okay? It's like you, Zach.
Wow.
Good guy. Yeah, you're a good guy.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, God, I needed to get my ass kicked. I was like,
No,
well,
you do. Yeah, that's what I mean.
call up Dexter Doom on that one, apparently. So
Yeah, but I think Uno just needs to hope that John Moxley doesn't show up at the next C4 show.
Yeah.
Things might go a little differently.
I saw that Uno had his own shirt on AEW. He's got a new shirt.
Oh yeah, I did see that in the ring on Friday or Wednesday.
Yeah, and AEW was promoting.
yeah.
Make sure you get his new shirt. I like this. Evil's getting his time now, which
Yeah.
is good.
It's been there a while. 5 years.
No, I really like it, and I sort of kid because I kind of like Junior, but I really like McRae, and I think Junior's getting a little too big for his britches, and I think Mr. Martin is in for he's in for a bit of a ride here the next little while, but that's okay. He'll overcome it. So when's the next show, Tanner? In November?
It is Friday, November 29th, as always, at the Preston Event Center, 6:30 p.m. doors, 7:30 p.m. bell. Tickets are already on sale. And once again, we've got the Evil Uno taking on McRae Martin for the world title, and then the Terry Ann Gibson Memorial Tag Team Tournament.
That's on the edge of War Games the very next day in Vancouver,
There you go.
which I know you're excited about, Tanner and Zach and everyone, all you WWE fans.
Oh, I'm at the edge of my seat. I really am.
Yeah,
I was looking at flights the other day.
I know.
It's not going to be the same without Samantha Irvin being the ring announcer, though.
I've never seen so much. Samantha Irvin's leaving. Is she going to talk for Ricochet on AEW? Because I hope so.
Yeah.
I saw someone that was already like, oh, I can't wait for the MJF and Ricochet program where MJF's going to be like, oh, don't worry. When I'm done with Ricochet, you can announce my name from now on.
I just don't know what Ricochet would ever say back. Can you imagine a feud between one of the best talkers in wrestling and one of the worst?
I think it was already bad enough when Drew put him out a couple of years ago on WWE TV.
Yeah, I remember that promo, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going well for Ricochet when he speaks. So he needs to be somewhere where someone's doing the speaking for him.
Yeah.
Needs to join a faction.
I was going to say, there's lots of factions available in AEW.
Yeah. Can I just say this? I've just been seeing the reaction, and I'm at the point now where it's like I'm okay with taking the blowback here. I never understood why people loved Samantha Irvin as the ring announcer. I never understood it.
Nope, I didn't either. I thought she was okay. I didn't think she was bad, but I didn't think she was like...
I didn't think she was, like some of the tweets I saw, the best ring announcer since Howard Finkel.
Oh, come on.
I saw some of those, and from some prominent media types, too. So, yeah, the best since the Fink.
Yeah.
I gotta disagree with that one, Lee.
Yeah. I think what she is a good ring announcer that actually cares. You can see, she cried in the Cody Rhodes thing and really soaked that up. But
yeah,
I think people just go, oh, she's got a little bit of human emotion and she cares and we can rally around. But she's she's good. She's not in that great category.
No. And here's another one of my hot takes. I actually thought it actively ruined the moment with the Cody that she was, announcing through tears and,
But see, I didn't even know she was in tears until afterwards because it sounded like she just choked.
Yeah.
And at the time, it didn't come across as she's crying. Now, when you see it back and they've shown the videos over and over and over again, you get it. But anyway,
but it should be Cody's moment. Like, why are we looking at the ring announcer and how they were feeling about this moment? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think no, because it adds to what Cody makes them feel.
I don't know. I feel like now people talk about it's like, oh, it was the moment of Cody. It was the moment of Samantha Irvin. It was a moment of this. Like, it should be one singular moment. Like, it should be a supporting act thing. Not, you shouldn't be the moment. You should be supporting the moment.
Tanner, wait until Cody beats Roman as a heel at WrestleMania, and then they set up the 4th match in a year where Roman finally beats Cody. You're excited for like 2 more WrestleManias with them as main event, right?
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Easy, let alone one. Let alone one. Like, oh my Lord. But they're going to eat this up anyway.
So in there.
Oh yeah, main event Jay. Can't forget about the
triple threat. That's the real one we need.
That's right. Rock. I mean, the man is a self-proclaimed main eventer. I mean, you can't forget main event in main event Jey Uso.
Well, you can't. You can just put him on the show main event.
Yeah, you can put him in the opener.
If I start calling myself a millionaire, suddenly I'll be one, right?
That's right. Well, I think that's how it works.
Speak your truths.
Yeah.
Speak your truths, Tanner, and we thank you, Tanner, for your C4 review and always a great addition to This Is Wrestling. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, boys. It's been a pleasure.
And for Zach McGibbon, hey Zach.
Yeah.
Next time we'll get to your Eric Bischoff.
Perfect. It's coming.
TV deal.
Trust me.
Say this at the end of every episode until you come through the screen there on me.
Oh, I trust me. Once the deal for AEW Shockwave on Fox gets announced, I will be armed and ready with takes. I will be. You thought some of the takes I had were harsh. Just you wait for what I have. Dedicate 15 minutes at least. 15 minutes at least about Eric Bischoff.
55. 55 minutes.
I can't wait. I'm just waiting. I've been in. You've been caging me here, Lee. I've been waiting. I've been at the edge of my seat.
He's a ticking time bomb.
I am about to explode with takes about how Eric Bischoff continues to showcase his wonderful ability to read the television industry, despite not being in the television industry since 2015. But has such a master stroke of the television industry and knows how it all works. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting to give the takes. I will continue to stay on the sideline.
Well, we're waiting for nothing because This Is Wrestling. The audience has 2 more episodes this week. Review of episode 4 of Mr. McMahon, the Netflix documentary series. Attitude, the episode number 4. You can listen to that. And, of course, another episode with us here with Tanner Reil and Zach McGibbon recapping the world of professional wrestling. So we'll be back, I'm sure, next week with at least 2 episodes, and if we can try and cage Zach anymore, we will, and finally get him to explode at some point.
Tony, drop the Shockwave news now. Drop it now. I'm ready.
He is your shock master, Zach McGibbon.
Oh God, no! Please no. I take that back. Actually, please no.
The new Hornswoggle Shockmaster, Zach McGibbon.
Oh, God.
For him and Tanner Reil and Lee Versage, thanks again for listening to another edition of This Is Wrestling.